It's time to go one on one. Coming at you live from the Apple Chevrolet GMC studios. Here is your host, Pearson. You by Maris for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
You know, every now and then we get to bring special programming. And last night we introduced you to an event and some of the young people that were speaking at it. Tonight, we get to do that again and we get to tell some stories. Again, the beauty of what we do on a night-by-night, day-by-day basis is to tell stories. And Lincoln has some amazing stories, some amazing people doing amazing things. And we take this opportunity tonight to tell the stories. Of course, I'm DP. 402-464-5685. Sartor Hamann text line, Honda Lincoln hotline. If you need to be a part of what we're doing, you can hit us on the text line. You can watch. You can follow everything. Sartor Hamann video stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Allo Channel 951. Give you every opportunity you can. And, of course, the Ticket FM app. If you're hearing us now, you're certainly on the stream, and we will kick over to the brick and mortar once the Royals game ends. But all of this tonight is about Ignite Lincoln. And September 14th, Rococo Theater. It's going to be an exceptional event. And if you don't have tickets, again, we will provide you all the information and opportunity to get those tickets throughout the course of this hour. So my first introduction, Gene, if you can lean in here and let's get him into this thing. Come on, get close. Let's pull that microphone. There we go. Pull that microphone. It goes side to side really well.
Switch it back and forth as we go.
Yeah, we'll make it. We'll make it. Let folks know who you are.
Okay, my name's Gene Deo, and I am the speaker selection committee chair, and have the privilege of helping select the speakers for this Ignite Lincoln. I've got two Kalik and Miles Morrissey are on the committee, and it's been a pleasure. I've been with Ignite. I actually went to the first Ignite 1. Got to see Jay Wilkinson speak, Tom Cassidy, former police chief. There was a glass blower, a guy that made movies, and it fascinated me. And I've been going ever since. I actually got to speak myself in Ignite 6, and I got to share my passion for running in Lincoln, for all the wonderful running venues and the great running community that we're all involved with. And then since then, I've just continued to be involved because it just is a great event. You get to hear so many different things. Like these two that are with us today have a story to share. And this year we're going to get to hear 12 stories about people's passions. And that's just gives me a kick. And I also like the fact that we get to support 5 charities and raise money for them on top of the speakers sharing their passion, 5 minutes with 20 slides.
Gene, let them know who those 5 nonprofits are and kind of what they're doing and how the process works.
Sure. They're visionary youth, for disadvantaged youth, Lincoln Literacy to help people read from all walks of life. We can do this. We feed the kids, in terms of giving kids an opportunity to have food over the weekend. Voices of hope for people that have been victims of sexual assault or domestic violence, and helping them work through that. And then the Echo Collective, which are businesses, helping underprivileged people, get up on their feet. So we got 5 wonderful finalists. And then what we do is the nonprofits get 144 seconds to tell their story up there in front of the audience. And then at the end, the audience votes for number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. So the person that gets the most votes, or the nonprofit that gets the most votes, gets the most money. Then the second gets half of that money. Third gets half of that money. But we give the money to all 5, and it's just the audience decides who gets the most. It's really fun.
The Rococo Theater is the location, September 14, 7 o'clock. I'm going to ask Janine to introduce herself and let the folks know who she is.
Sure. Yeah. Hi. My name is Janine Bryant, and I'm excited. I was selected to be one of the speakers for this year. So, they limit us to 5 minutes. And so I'm hoping that I can, get my whole speech in 5 minutes. But this year, I'm going to be speaking about something I'm passionate about, which is older adults, sometimes referred to as seniors, and their stuff. And my speech is entitled, Your Kids Don't Want Your Stuff, and That's Okay. And my message is all about significance and legacy and how none of that is really tied to your stuff, these collections that the baby boomers want to pass down to their children or their grandchildren. And, these young people, they don't want the stuff. Right. And there's, I work with seniors. I own a business here in Lincoln called Changing Spaces SRS, and we help seniors who are downsizing. And so I work every week with people who are caught in this tension of too much stuff and no one to give it to. And what does that mean? And the older generation is left feeling like, don't you love me? Don't you want my stuff? And, how our idea of stuff and love and significance gets all wrapped up together. So that's what I'm going to be talking about.
There's a lot to unwrap there, and we will over the course of the hour. 100% we will. Jillian, let them know who you are.
So my name is Jillian Post, and I'm a longtime Lincolnite, but I've lived lots of different places, and I have lots of pieces of paper. So I have a cosmetology degree. I have a bachelor's degree from UNL. I have a master's degree from Creighton, and I have a master's degree from a college in California called Claremont Lincoln. So what brought me back to Lincoln? Well, my mother, she's 90. And there was this stream of very anxious texts from my two sisters who still live in Nebraska. And I ended up moving back to Lincoln, or back to Syracuse, which is where I'm from, and transferred a job. I was the director of religious education for a Unitarian Universalist church, and then just transferred that to Omaha. So then I commuted to Omaha. And boy, the rest of the story is long with so many details, and certainly COVID is in there somewhere because it really interrupted my career change. So the reason I wanted to speak at Ignite Lincoln is because I think that there's not enough people who really understand how exciting and yet challenging the aging process is. I'm not ashamed to say I'm 62 and I'm still working. And I reinvented myself again and went back into hair because I couldn't find the work I wanted to do. I did some projects, some facilitation projects and conflict resolution projects and interfaith projects, but nothing that kept me going. So back into a private studio, and my father was an entrepreneur, a hardworking hardware floor covering man for 44 years. And I think that entrepreneurial spirit came with me. So back in a private studio and loving it. Got moved back to Lincoln finally. So still taking care of my mom.
So the $1 million question for you is, with all of that paper from all of those places, who do you root for when they play each other? What's home to you? You're a sports fan, so you understand. Like, is this a Creighton thing, an Omaha thing, a Husker thing?
Remember when I came in, I told you about the Bob Devaney, decanter. Okay, so I was 10 in 71 and 11 in 72, and Oklahoma used to play Nebraska on Thanksgiving. It was a tradition that was deeply embedded in families. So I don't know. I guess UNL is still my alma mater, my roots alma mater. So yeah, that's pretty easy to choose.
Now, where were you? You said you moved back to Nebraska. Where were you?
Well, I had a significant other that is still living out there. Is just a friend now. Decided he didn't want to come back from Omaha, and he's a musician. he played with Preston Love and lots of Omaha musicians. And so we moved just outside of NYC, about 20 miles south of the airport at Newark. So South Plainfield, tiny, all of the townships are connected out there. So
Yeah.
you don't really feel like you're in a small town. You kind of feel like you're in this conglomeration of places. But, I did lots of volunteer work, and I went to symposiums and conferences at Columbia University and volunteered for many different organizations and got involved in interfaith, volunteering and presenting and moderating panels at for the International Center for Ethno-Religious Mediation, ICERM. So
If you
lots
can
of
say
fun.
that, you can speak at Ignite Lincoln. Just getting that out. Just
Yeah.
getting that out
I know.
on call. Yeah. Yeah.
or
that,
writing it, typing
yeah,
it.
yeah, that qualifies
18
you.
times in a paper.
that absolutely works. We understand now, Gene. I was literally going to ask Gene, how do you go through the process? How many people applied to speak? And what was the process? Like, how do you make that decision on who gets to speak at your event?
That's a good question. We go through, we call for speakers, to get people to put in their video, their synopsis, what they want to accomplish. And then, to make the final selections, number one, we don't want everyone to be a motivational speaker.
Mhm.
You want diversity, whether someone's talking about a glass blowing, or whether they're a musician and then talking about cutting vinyl records. You want a diversity. So you look at the applicants, and number one, you get quality. And then number two, you go to see, okay, how can we have a good cross section of Lincolnites to speak? And that's where, Tuke Kalik and Miles Morrissey and myself got together and decided, on the 12. We actually, we originally only going to have 11, but there were 12 great speakers.
Then I sent mine in, and you had to go to 12.
You were number one.
He said, I sent mine in, and you went, oh, okay, all right, one more for the sake of things.
So it's a fun process, and every year it's a little bit different type of speaker, but then it all comes together, at the event itself, and that's what's so fun. They get out, and we make a big deal about, the MC this year, who's going to be Matt Spitzen, is going to have the audience stand up and give each speaker a standing ovation before their speech.
Nice.
Before their speech. We want the speakers pumped up. We want them energized and ready to go. So, it's been a fun process and been fun kind of navigating through the process of, once they get selected, then they've got the shock of, 20 slides and only 5 minutes, right, Jillian?
Mhm.
And then, where they have to just cut to the nub, and then going through and getting all that done and getting them, to the, we have a practice session on Sunday where the speakers get to come in and do a dry run, a walkthrough at the Rococo the day before, so they know the venue. And then, September 14th, it's just going to be fun to see all 12 of them get up there.
Janine, you have the writer's spirit, and it comes across in how you present who you are and what you do. For you, what's the cause? What makes you put finger to the laptop, pad to pen?
Oh, well, I was an English major.
Mhm.
Jillian talked about all her pieces of paper that she has. I have a master's in English and Great Plains Studies, which my dad always said, what the heck are you going to do with that? Right. And that's, I grew up in North Dakota. That's what brought me to Lincoln, is they have an interdisciplinary program at UNL, Great Plains Studies. And so
Harrison, did you have any idea?
No.
That's part of the beauty of the stories, because one, we can all be here in Lincoln and have the same basic existence, but they all come from different stories and different trials and tribulations. So you said this is why you're in Lincoln. There had to be more than that, though. There had to be something about Lincoln that resonated with you and landed. What is it about Lincoln? If somebody had asked you, give me the elevator pitch on why anybody would want to live in Lincoln, Nebraska.
I think it's the perfect size city.
Mhm.
I grew up in a small town out on the farm in North Dakota, and our closest big city was Fargo, and that's 100,000 people. And to me, that was a big city, you know. And so, boy, Lincoln is more than twice that. And so, to me, Lincoln was coming to the big city. And now I've come to realize it's really the perfect size city because it's, you know, everyone always says it's a big small town. It's big enough where you can have some, you know, anonymity, but it's small enough where there's connections. You can easily find connections wherever you go, which is nice. And it's been a great place to live. I have 2 kids. It's been a great place to raise my kids. They can go to public school. I don't worry about it. It's been a great place to build a business. And so I'm a Midwest girl. So I love living in Lincoln.
What is it? I mean, through all of this, there are people that help you get here. I have a buddy that likes to speak on, we all stand on somebody's shoulders. Who is that for you?
I grew up, I had the privilege of growing up around a lot of old people, I always say, and I say that with a great amount of love. It was just me and my brother, and we lived 2 miles from one set of grandparents and 1.5 miles from the other set of grandparents. And so they were like a second and third set of parents to us. And we also had a great aunt and uncle who were also right there with us. And so at any and every holiday, it was me and my brother and like 8 to 10 old people right there. And we were always kind of the focus, the center of attention. And we loved that. And so I grew up around seniors, and also growing up in a small town, you go to church on Sunday, you go down in the church basement after church services and have coffee with, who is it? It's a bunch of old people. And my dad is, you know, Mr. Extrovert, and he just loves having conversations. And so we would sit down there for what seemed like hours thinking, oh, Dad, is it time to leave yet? But we were surrounded by these old folks having conversations. And so I learned from a young age to really be comfortable around senior citizens and to appreciate them and to love listening to their stories. And that is what I was able to parlay into a career, you know, and I also loved organizing. And so you put organizing and seniors together, and that's what I do today. I help folks who are moving out of a home they've lived in for decades and they're downsizing. And so I really stand on the shoulders of all of my grandparents and my great aunt and uncle who really helped raise me.
Jillian, for you, whose shoulders do you?
Well, I just want to first say that I think I might need your services.
Several times moved, yes.
I'm talking about the downsizing process that's going on with my own mother right now.
Yes.
Sure, it's very difficult and challenging, and she's losing control of everything. So she's not happy about it.
Yeah, and that's hard. Absolutely.
Yeah. So whose shoulders do I stand on? I honestly can't tell you. I can't tell you. Who do I look up to? My father, who is gone, and professors through the years. But, you know, nobody in my family or background has a tremendous amount of education. So I broke barriers that I had to break myself. I remember the first time I wanted to go to UNL, and I was married at the time, and my then husband said, no. And I said, watch me. But I didn't know how to drive a stick. So he was in the car business, and he told me that if I was going to go to UNL, I needed to learn how to drive the Ford Fiesta we had at the time, which is basically a car made out of foil. So I learned how to drive it. And I remember driving on campus over a railroad track with my 4-speed and a terribly hard clutch to maneuver. And I was just scared to death. And to think about some of the things I've done since then, like I was married to a Palestinian for a while, Palestinian American for a while, and I went to Jordan. And that experience was there's so many stories in there. I can't even begin to cover them.
I'm stunned because I know that before the next couple of weeks are out, I'm going to hear some of those stories. I'm going to find you to hear some of those stories. They need to be told.
Let me just name one.
Mm-hmm.
So there are traditional methods of conflict resolution. And by that, I mean, no formal mediation, no law enforcement involved, no mediators involved. There are traditional forms that I got to see because we were in a car accident and we were in Amman, Jordan. And my then husband got hit on the back of the head with a tire iron and had to go get 13 stitches. And we had to go to a police station, which was an empty desk with a pile of empty pieces of paper. And that's about it. and it all unfolded in the living room till about midnight that night. And there's too many more details to go into, but non-traditional, family-oriented conflict resolution was so interesting to watch.
The stories that need to be told just need a vehicle. It just needs a vehicle. We're here, Ignite Lincoln Hour, and we'll take a break. When we come back, I want to get into a little bit more of the detail of why these particular stories need to be told. We'll ask Gene about some of the other presenters and speakers, and then get details on how you can be a part of this, where to get tickets, how to get them, and the details of the event. September 14, Rococo Theater. We'll be right back here on The Ticket.
Agriculture is the economic engine of the Midwest. At Acres Equipment, we dedicate ourselves to making that engine run smoothly. We supply our farmers and ranchers with quality John Deere equipment, parts, and service. We also deliver the most advanced technology and precision ag strategies to help them farm today and for the future. Acres Equipment, solutions for every field.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has come to the attention of the Nebraska Lottery that when people hear a radio commercial in their car for one of our lotto games, Powerball, Mega Millions, or Lucky for Life, they tend to begin daydreaming about how they'll spend the prize money if they win, instead of paying attention to the road. So please, when I tell you that Nebraska Lottery Lotto games offer big money and big fun, keep your mind on driving. Do not start thinking about all the things you could buy if you win. Things like bright red sports cars, tropical vacations, 100-inch TVs, hot tubs, SUVs, a new computer, motorboats.
Bob, snap out of it.
Oh, good heavens. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. Perhaps I should go home now.
You better let me drive.
Lotto games from the Nebraska Lottery. Top prize odds vary by game.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $24.11 per hour, which grows to $28.27 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $32.76 per hour with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salary jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here. Summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
Steve's Garage Doors and Services is hiring. They are looking for a garage door installation and service technician with a clean driving record. Experience is not required as they will train for the positions. However, mechanical aptitude is required. If you want to come be a part of a small business where you're family, not just an employee, call Steve's Garage Doors and Services today to apply at 402-480-2840. That's 402-480-2840. Steve's Garage Doors and Services.
This Easter, focus on your family instead of dishes with the Venue Easter to-go meals. Prepared fresh in house by our chefs, these meals are ready to heat and eat with packages for 2 to 3 people or 6 to 8, and your choice of juicy beef tenderloin, tasty herb roasted chicken, or our famous 6-pepper crusted prime rib. All meal packages come with sides, and we have additional add-ons available to complete your feast. Order today at venuedelivered.com/Easter. That's newdelivered.com/Easter.
Spring sports are here and it's time to upgrade your equipment. But don't go rush into your big box store. Play It Again Sports is your place to go for all spring sports equipment for baseball, softball, golf, and disc golf. Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Agriculture is the economic engine of the Midwest. At Acres Equipment, we dedicate ourselves to making that engine run smoothly. We supply our farmers and ranchers with quality John Deere equipment, parts, and service. We also deliver the most advanced technology and precision ag strategies to help them farm today and for the future. Acres Equipment, solutions for every field.
You're listening to One on One with DP, sponsored by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It is, it's funny this time, One Nation. It is actually a thing that's important to me, and I'm part of being a part of the Ignite Lincoln event and a lot of the foundations and nonprofits in this area. What I found out is that there's a very strong chemistry that exists, and it's just not talked about a lot, and it's absolutely intriguing to me. Gene, if you would please, this event, again, 12 presenters, give the folks a little bit of some of the other folks who are going to be there. Let's give them their flowers now. Let's announce them and let folks know that they're going to be a part of what we're doing.
Sure. Give you an example. Of course, you have the two young ladies here that are going to be speaking. But
they both smiled when you said that, by the
way. They're both younger than us, so they're young. But we have Rachel Barth, with the Lincoln Airport, and she's going to talk about Taking Flight, the power of local engagement at the Lincoln Airport, because the airport's had some big highs this summer, and then they had an amazing low when Redway pulled out. So she's going to talk about the importance of us being engaged. Sam Stetcher is going to how to take the random out of random acts of kindness.
Sam's one of my people. Sam is anybody that speaks about connection and kindness. And Sam speaks it and then lives it out loud. I'm a fan. I'm looking forward to his presentation.
Yeah, and he actually just started a new position. So have to learn more about that. And Mark Bielik, he's going to talk about work is good therapy or lessons my father taught me.
Yay, fathers.
What'd you say?
Yay, fathers.
Yay, fathers. Amen. And Mitzi Nannon, she is living with terminal cancer, but such a positive person. And she is made up her mind. She is going to live all the way through till whenever she's called home. And her title is called Can I Live With It? Because she says, when all these things are happening, my teeth are coming out. Can I live with it? Well, yeah. And she just, anyway, so just an amazing story. I'm looking forward to that. Katie Lou Hotzen talks about being a plus size woman and owning it, and promoting health and beauty, no matter what size you are. So that's going to be a fun one. Amanda Fairley is going to talk about being confident, the confident you. I see right here, there's a Derek Pearson.
I don't know how that guy got in.
He's going to talk about my dear friend Stan. And
I think you know that story. I don't think that folks know.
I know the story.
Yeah.
You had, what did you say, 27 blood clots?
27 blood clots and a saddle embolism. And there's you're sitting. We're all miracles.
Yeah.
We forget that sometimes, but Stan is my constant reminder that we need to honor today, because tomorrow ain't always promised.
It isn't. And Jason Whitmer is going to speak about it takes a community. And he's had an upbringing. He went through the foster system and whatever to get where he is. And he'll have an outstanding story to share. Jeff Martin is going to talk about the world of hypnosis.
He's not going to hypnotize us, right?
No.
Like, we're not going to end up barking. Like, we're not going to.
I guess we'll see.
No, he is not that kind of hypnotist.
Okay, I just need to be sure.
No, he's not going to try to get the audience to bark or to make weird noises or anything. But he is going to share what he feels is real hypnosis, because it can only happen when, according to him, if people want it to happen. And then if you use it in a good way, he helps people to stop smoking. He helps people to lose weight, and he helps sports individuals to kind of work through some of their issues so they can perform at a higher level. So looking forward to his talk too. Oh, Alan was on last night. And he's got a heck of a story. You can probably share more about that, Derek.
Yeah, through his battle, his friction was identifying how strong he was. That he took a lot of scars and finally figured out that those were all lessons. Going through the foster system, being able to break down some of the barriers and those ceilings that exist in foster care. What it does to the psyche of the children, and then what those children often grow up to be, and then trying to be, as you said, different from your recent history, and trying to break down doors that seem to really kind of barrier children of the foster system. And he's traveled the world, and he's rebranded and re-identified himself, and now he's on a real search. We were actually talking last night about finding out who his father was, which is a thing that resonated with me, because I didn't know for the first 55 years of my life who my father was. So just kind of explaining that, we all carry luggage. We all have those things that are in our heads. And as to what Janine was talking about, I'm on the other side, that I actually stalk all of those earlier generation things. I need them. I need them. I would give anything. I too was a child raised by grandparents and uncles and aunties, and I would sit in that room in those churches and hear the stories. And those stories gave me faith in that the world was big enough for me to trust it. It was good enough for me to trust it. But then not knowing who my father was, and finding out late in the game that my father was my father and there's somebody else. But through that, the science behind it jumped in, and now I know who my father was, and I found I've got more family than I could possibly dream of. More love, luckily. Blessed enough that my new brothers and sisters welcomed me in, and they're my people. Like they look like me, and they act like me and talk like me, and I'm like, wow, okay. So this is where this comes from. I was raised in a house with eight kids, and I was the only baseball player, and I never understood, like, well, what is this? What is this? Well, it turns out my dad played in the Negro Leagues.
Wow.
So the universe has some things that it plants in us, and we don't always know why those wonderful quirks of ours exist. But we say they're the seeds of all of our ancestors, just smiling every time that weird thing about you shows up, because they planted it there, and they want it honored, and they want it yelled at. But that's a part of the storytelling that happens in the events like this, because people are going to not only share themselves with Lincoln, but they're also going to help people in Lincoln identify themselves in us. Like, they're going to take some of what we offer that night, and they'll leave the room changed because they made a simple decision to come in and listen to 12 people talk and tell their stories. And we forget that our stories, we go through the stuff we go through, not for us, but for other people. And it's a beautiful thing as we do that. Janine, I'll ask you this because it being a writer to me is constantly evolving. For you, what thing moves you? What is the greatest friction that you've ever faced?
I lost my mom in 2005. I had just turned 24, and my mom died of stage 4 colon cancer. And so, boy, I'm looking forward to hearing this gal's speech about who's living with terminal cancer, because our family has certainly walked through that. That was when the sky fell for us and our family. I watched my dad go through, losing his spouse, which is a very different kind of loss than, me and my brother losing our mother, and just how to navigate that. And she was 57 years old at the time. And my husband is 55 right now. And that has really caused me to kind of stop in my tracks recently and just kind of reflect on that. I was 24 when she died, and everyone around me said, oh, what a tragedy. She died so young. And I thought, yeah, but to a 24-year-old, 57 is still, well, she's still kind of old, but now I'm in my 40s, and now I can see how young she really was. And so that was really, I had just graduated from undergrad, and I was still trying to figure out what I was going to do. And that's when she was diagnosed, and 13 months later she died. And I still didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And so that's why I decided to go to graduate school. And that's how I ended up in Lincoln, because one thing I knew how to do was be a student. And I thought, well, I'll just go back to school. And after she died, spending the next year going through all of her stuff in her house. I'm the only daughter, and so often I find that the burden of the stuff in the house tends to fall to the women in the family.
Indeed.
It became clear that my dad did not intend to stay in that house for too long. It just tore him up inside to stay in that house. And so before long, he sold our farmhouse and moved into town to a smaller space. And so I was faced with, what do I do with all of my mom's stuff? My brother's not going to want it. My dad's, a crusty old farmer. The only thing he cares about is the tractors in the shed, and he doesn't care about the china and the crystal and the keepsakes and the photos and and so at a young age, I found myself going through all of my mother's things and trying to decide, what do I keep? What do I let go of? How do I remember my mom? And what I realized is that, the memories are in us. The meaning is in us. The relationship is in us. It's not in all of that stuff. And so I did what I try to preach to others to do. I kept the best and I let go of the rest. I didn't get rid of everything, but I kept, the best things, because I was an unmarried 24-year-old living in an apartment. I couldn't keep everything. So I kept the best, let go of the rest. And then since then, I just have been reflecting on my relationship with my mother. And the hard thing about losing someone is that your relationship with them can no longer change. Whatever your relationship with them, it is what it was, right? Yeah. And however much you want to change it. And I was blessed to have a wonderful relationship with my mom, but I miss her every day, and I'll never stop missing her. And no one loves you like your mom loves you, and any woman who has children know that, dads are amazing, but no one loves those kids like a mom loves. Yeah, so that's been the biggest friction in my life, is recreating the legacy and trying to honor the legacy that my mother passed down to me through her and through my grandparents. My mother was an only child, and she was also the only grandchild, and I am her only daughter. And so there's a whole side of the family there that has a whole bunch of keepsakes and traditions and legacy. It kind of weighs heavy, from that side of the family. And I just find it fascinating to think about and wrestle with.
Jillian, what's the thing that you want people to walk out of Rococo Theater next week after they hear you? What do you want them to take away? What do you want them to walk out with?
Well, I entitled this presentation, "Your Last Chapter Can Be the Best." So one of the first slides is kind of referencing to things that people might associate with retirement. Maybe a rocking chair, maybe a golf course. And I wanted to make it clear to them that I had a rough beginning. I had something happen to me when I was 14 that changed my life, and then I went through. I'm not going to talk about it. And I'm not going to say who, but I went through domestic violence, and that's a source of friction.
Yeah.
And so I could have given up so many times, and I refused to.
Yeah.
And I'm daring people to not go into the last chapter quietly. That's what I'm doing.
So much of that is going to be needed. Folks that come into a room, they're either looking for a memory or trying to create one.
Yeah.
And that room is going to be filled with people who take away. And that's the big part of all this 12 speakers walking into a room and trying to leave their imprint.
I think there are a lot of folks who haven't even totally identified how the last few years have challenged them and or damaged them of all ages. The whole COVID experience, everything that went with it, and supply chain, and it just so many things. And I heard you speak of something, and it reminded me as a psychology major. There's no argument now. Nature doesn't. It's not nature versus nurture anymore. It's both, except that people handle their grief and handle their challenges and handle their friction very differently. Some people stuff, stay quiet, don't feel like they can share anything, and some just explode with all of the challenges. So in hearing stories at a place like this, hopefully, there's going to be some people that want to stick around and talk.
Yep.
And there's going to be some people who are going to want to run out the door
They're going to be changed.
because
changed.
something's going to be triggered. And triggered is a bad word, but it's just a very different experience for everyone,
Friction in space, as a coach, I tell people friction is going to happen, expected. It's what you do in friction that determines what's next. And there are people who are idled by friction. They get caught up in the friction. And there are people that use friction to propel themselves forward and up. And we cheer people who have figured out how to propel. We haven't figured out how to reach back and regain the people who got caught up in the friction. But that's a part of the what we're doing.
We're reassembling yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Is can't be rushed.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. In fact, that's one of my slides too.
No, that's what we're looking forward to. We'll throw it to one more break, and when we come back, we'll get final statements, and then we'll let Gene let you know exactly how to get tickets, what time you need to be there, what the layout's going to be, all of that for Ignite Lincoln 15.
Join us at this year's Ignite Lincoln 15 at Rococo Theater on Thursday, September 14th for an inspiring night of stories that spark change. Get your tickets at ignitelincoln.org. Don't miss this chance to be a part of something extraordinary.
If you or someone you know is having thoughts of suicide or experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis, call 988 for free, confidential, and compassionate support. On July 16th, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is transitioning to 988. There is hope. For 24/7 support, call, text, or chat 988.
Sponsored by Nebraska DHHS, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids. First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse. Beep, beep, beep. Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action. Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury, was doing school full-time, And I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
This is how we do every day. We ride, and if you want to come and text us.
If you love them enough to turn on your music and pretend like their music is your music,
This is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I think it's just vapor. Vaping is safer than smoking, isn't it?
There's really not even that much nicotine in them, right?
One vape pod has as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes.
My kid?
My kid
knows it's dangerous. 5.4 million American kids vape, and most think it's harmless. Get your head out of the cloud. Talk to your kid about vape. Visit talkaboutvaping.org. That's talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. The risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
You're listening to One-on-One with DP, sponsored by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. This is a special event, and tonight's conversation certainly opens my brain and my skin up, my pores up a little bit. Looking forward to the 14th. This event is going to have some speakers that have stories to tell. They have lessons to share. This kind of event, this is like, I would, quite frankly, I'd rather do this than go to a football game, because it's humanity and it's realness. It's a thing. And I know a lot of people here won't believe it. They don't understand it. But being around creative people who are caring enough to share their lessons with other people, whether it's comfortable or not, they're willing to share so somebody else can have an easier day. It's a wonderful thing. And Gene, what you and the folks have put together is going to be exceptional. Let the folks know, listeners know, one, how to get tickets.
They can go to ignitelincoln.org, and they can buy 2 different types of tickets. If you want to sit in a chair, $10. If you want to sit at a table, $20. 100% of that money goes to the nonprofits. So you spend 10 goes to nonprofits. You spend 20 goes to them. So ignitelincoln.org, and we will accept people just walking in. Hey, can I buy a ticket at the front door? Yes, we'll take your money, and you can buy a ticket at the front door.
Through all of this, this is year 15. How has the event evolved? What was the first one? You said you were at the first one.
The first one was in 2010. There was actually a couple of years where we had 2. And the first one, I was involved as a spectator. My good friend Ali Schwanke talked about 6 levels of separation and whatever. And so she invited me to go, and I just was enamored with it. And it was at the Bourbon Street Theater here in town. It was there for the first couple of years, and then it grew. And then we've been at the Rococo ever since. We started, with the nonprofits in 2013. 3 years after we started, we thought it would just be a great interaction to have nonprofits and people sharing their passion. And we've been able to give away over $100,000 since then to the nonprofits right here in Lincoln, helping Lincolnites.
It's again, through all of this stuff, right? That Lincoln keeps showing up that, in that soft underbelly, there's some really good things happening here. Janine, let them know one more time how to find you, what you're doing. I know that you have some things that you want to share with folks.
Sure. Yeah. My business is Changing Spaces, SRS, and we help seniors downsize and move. We help older folks let go of their things. We also turn around and sell those things. We run estate sales and online auctions here in Lincoln. And I'm thrilled to be speaking at this event and helping people think about how to let go of their stuff.
Jillian, what's the story?
So I have returned to being in a private hair studio, and I had a private studio in Omaha, 2 of them actually, and I called it Hair's Art. So when I recreated things, I decided Hair's Art 2.0 would be pretty cool.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, it's in Von Hair Salon Suites. It's 70th and Pioneers, but it's a struggling time for service providers. We've had 6 people leave. So I'm still there. I'll be there until I cannot stand up anymore.
And you letting the folks know how to find you. That is important. Gene, again, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for sharing your stories, because this is a community of stories. And it's a great event. It's a great event. Again, Ignite Lincoln, September 14th, 7 o'clock, doors open. What time do doors open?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, doors open. The bar will be open. So folks that want to
I confirmed that earlier this week.
There we go.
The bar.
Hey.
Janine needs to make sure the bar will be open.
Let's get to the important stuff. Yeah, let's have that done. Again, you can find out the information at ignitelincoln.org, and we would love to see you all there. Gene, Jillian, Janine, thank you. Harrison Arns, once again, thank you, kind sir. Don't go anywhere. Ticket weeknights. We'll take it over. Give you a recap on the day here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Thank you.
Thank you.